With Harvey getting close to landfall, I thought it would be a good Facebook Live video here to do tonight. I know there's a lot of interest locally. Could this cause any impacts in the Ohio Valley? I know that a lot of people are just curious because of the pure intensity of this absolute monster. So I felt like this would make a good Facebook Live video tonight to discuss what's going on along the Gulf Coast. And then I know this, you know, the honest truth is I know everybody remembers 2008. When Ike made a move from Galveston and came into the Ohio Valley. I think most people remember because it came into the Ohio Valley and produced nearly 75-mile-an-hour winds and caused a lot of damage within our area. So I've had a lot of questions from people saying, you know, is this going to do an Ike? You know, I was without power after the Ike windstorm here, and for me, it was one of the 3 times in a matter of a year that I lost my roof, at least damage to it. So I can tell you that I'm with you guys in that we don't need another one of those coming towards our area. I'm going to share this onto WDRB News and WDRB Weather, and what I'm going to ask you guys to do is, first off, tonight is a very important Facebook Live video. And the reason it is if we can get over 1,000 shares tonight, guys, tonight is 100. We've talked about this for a long time, in that getting over 100 nights in a row with above 1,000 shares was this big deal. It was kind of looming out in the distance. I even debated, should I do a Facebook Live video tonight because, you know, the streak could be at risk, but I thought that this is a really, really interesting topic, and I thought a lot of people would be interested. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is, we've got about 300 eyeballs in here. If everybody shares the video 4 times right now, we'll get ourselves easily up over 1,000 shares. We will do it for the 1,000th consecutive night. I would love to do the shares early so we can get that out there, get it done with, and just move on to our discussion. So if you guys can, please share the video early several times so we can get up over 1,000. If you guys think piece of cake, give me a thumbs up. Do you guys think tonight's going to be the night where we go 100 nights above 1,000 shares? I would love to, like I said. I think we can do it, especially since we've got an interesting topic, and I know there's a lot of people, not just within our area, but regionally, that are probably going to be interested, and I know that everybody's got some friends. Texas is a huge state, so I know that there's going to be interest down there as well. So I'm going to give you guys 2 shares so we can add that into our total. I need you guys to give me 4 shares per person. We'll easily get ourselves up over 1,000. I'm seeing a lot of people posting that they are giving 4 shares. I appreciate that. If you guys think 1,000 is reachable tonight, give me a thumbs up, let me know. And then we will start our discussion here in just a moment. I want to get this onto WDRB Weather as well. We'll go for about 15 minutes or so, and then afterwards, what I'm going to do is open it up to questions, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions on this particular one. So it's just a crazy week. I'll also mention, people were asking me, was I going to chase this one? I will tell you guys that it was a close and a difficult decision. And I will tell you in the end the reason that I chose not to chase this particular hurricane. There's a couple of reasons. Number one, our area has a close connection to the Gulf of Mexico. Part of the reason is, for instance, we have a lot of people that go to Florida and go to Alabama for vacations. So traditionally when we have hurricanes in those areas, I will be more likely to chase those areas. So that played into the fact that maybe not. The second was, since this one's going to be so slow moving, I had very legitimate concerns that we could get stuck for a week down there, because if a road goes flooded, you can't get out. And I'm very, very, very concerned that this one could produce high-level catastrophic flooding. And I'm not going to minimize the wind, because the wind is potentially a destroyer. But I'm concerned that the flooding is going to be epic. And I was concerned that if I get caught in flooding, that could raise a concern, how could I get out? And in the end, that was probably the single deciding factor for me why I would not go on this one, is because I was concerned that if I got caught in flooding, that I would not be able to get back for 7 days. And I think you guys know that you guys probably some want me here for weather, not just gone. So that's one of the reasons. All right, so what we'll do, let's jump into this. Remember, guys, I need 4 shares per person. It's a big one. If we get over 1,000 shares tonight, we do it. Over 1,000, for the 100th night in a row. It's a real important one for me, guys. Please, if you share the video 4 times each, we're easily up over 1,000. Let's jump into our discussion. So you can see this is the current radar on Harvey. Harvey's very, very, very close to landfall. You can see, and I'll just take you into the now on radar. This is Rockport, and this has really been a favorite area for storm chasers to go. The worst of this is always on the right side of the eye, so it will be 20 miles to the northeast of Rockport, Texas. Here's Corpus Christi, and you can see the eye's not going to hit Corpus Christi. It's going to stay off to the north and east. That said, it's very close, and it will cause significant damage. The worst is going to be on these barrier islands. They could conceivably get wiped off the map. This is strong enough that it will overrun likely those barrier islands. This is a close look at the hurricane, which is a Category 4 hurricane, 130 mile an hour sustained, gusts to 155, with a pressure around 940 millibars. So how does this compare to Katrina? Katrina at landfall was 922 millibars and peaked at around 902. So from a pressure perspective alone, Katrina was stronger. From the actual winds, it was downgraded after landfall. It was no longer a Category 4. That said, you could argue that were parts of Katrina that were indeed stronger than this. So you can see as we look right now, we are indeed seeing landfall occurring on the outer, on these barrier islands just off the coast of Rockport. A wider perspective gives you a sense of perspective of what you're truly looking at. And I would argue that this may be one of the most impressive radar, satellite presentations of a landfalling hurricane, maybe since Hurricane Charlie. So if you're wondering, the next question is, compared to storms in the past, how does this compare? I think you could successfully argue that Katrina in some senses was stronger in that the storm surge will be larger. But if you're just talking about straight winds, this is indeed the strongest hurricane since Hurricane Charlie made landfall on August 9th, 2004. You know, I would ask you guys tonight, keep Texas in your thoughts. Keep Texas in your prayers. Say a little prayer for Texas tonight. What they're going to go through, I've been in hurricanes that have been vicious. I was in Katrina, and I can tell you, I know full well how difficult this is going to be. Not just in the winds, but in the flooding afterwards. And I really have some deep, deep concerns. As we look at some of the current winds, keep in mind that many of these sites are indeed going offline. And that's not that uncommon when you get into the eye of hurricanes, that you lose some of the data. That said, some of the data has shown gusts to around 70 miles an hour, but we know that they're going to go way higher. And you can see Rockport, I'm not exactly sure how to say the end of that, so I'll leave that, but Corpus Christi as well. You can see a lot of those sites are going offline as the hurricane's making landfall for many reasons, because of the winds, because of the storm surge. It's going to take out a number of locations, and we may not be able to get the full estimation of the winds until after this thing is done. So once it makes landfall, where does it go? Well, this is the latest, and you can see it is indeed in the process of making landfall. But what you'll notice is, and I'm going to go back here and show you landfall Sunday, and watch what happens. It makes a recurve, and this is by Sunday at 1 p.m., and then it starts to go back and get stuck very, very close to the coast. And I will tell you what this creates is this massive dilemma. And I want to show you just one computer model, or actually what we call the spaghetti plot computer models. Because I know there's a lot of questions about how is this going to affect the Ohio Valley? Should I be concerned? Well, this is right now through next Friday. And you can see there's this cluster of computer models that are now stalling this over south central Texas for not just days, but we're talking about 3, 5, 6 days. This could still be in the Lone Star State. And I've been in hurricanes. They produce obscene rainfall rates. I mean, rainfall rates that almost are difficult for me to describe. It can come down at a rate of 2 to 3 inches per hour. And that can produce sometimes 10 or 20 inches in a day. Which means if this guy gets stuck for several days, you get into a situation that may not just cause flooding, but you may get into a situation that is historic in its flood potential. And I'm going to show you the GFS computer model data for the coast of Texas. And you're going to see this white stripe here. And this is not just creating the potential for flooding. This is creating potential for flooding that people in these areas have never seen their entire life. You're creating the potential for catastrophic flooding that will kill people. And this could create historic flooding in Texas. Where exactly this 40-inch rainfall total ends up is somewhat uncertain in the data, but I assure you, if Austin got that 17, it's going to be a catastrophe. If Victoria, Texas saw that near 40, it'll be a high echelon catastrophe. The data has hovered anywhere between 13 and 25 inches of rain for Houston. I can tell you that would be an upper echelon catastrophe for Houston. So this hurricane creates a multi-faceted concern. It creates a potential for destruction and loss of life with the landfall, with the winds of 130 miles an hour right now. We get past landfall, we'll lose the storm surge, which could be in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 feet. For comparison on storm surge, Katrina was 31.5 feet. Really? We're talking about 10 to 15 and Katrina was nearly 30? Katrina is this legend among legends. It doesn't mean that this thing won't be comparable in the damage, but Katrina's the legend among legends. It really is. Somebody would argue that Andrew was stronger, and it was. But Andrew didn't have the surge that Katrina did, and the surge on Katrina covered an enormous area. And that made Katrina one of the ultimate legends among hurricanes. I think that Harvey's most defining characteristic is going to be the catastrophic flooding it causes. And I think it's going to be, like I said, upper echelon catastrophic. I think the flooding that we see when this is all said and done will be something that is seared into the minds of many people. I think the loss of life is going to be significant on this storm. And that's why I just ask you guys once again to keep them in your thoughts and keep Texas in your prayers. This is a potentially devastating event for the Lone Star State and our friends to the south. And I would ask you guys that after this event is over, think about how you can help. Think about how you can donate. And think about what the needs are of Texas. Don't think that somebody else is going to help, because I saw firsthand in Katrina, a lot of people thought that others were going to help, and that help never arrived. So please just remember that we need to be on the front lines of protection. And I say that to a community that in 2012 had the United States descend on us as Pekin and Borden and Henryville and Chelsea and Marysville were devastated by an EF4 tornado. We know what it's like. It's been our town before, that we desperately needed the help of others. So I would encourage you guys to let's think about how we can help our friends to the south when that time comes. Because we don't want to be takers, we want to be givers as well. So let's be there for our neighbors in their time of need. I know that this is going to bring up enormous amounts of questions about towns, areas, and I want to be able to answer those questions for you guys. So what I would like to do is open it up to questions now from you guys. Remember, guys, if you're new to my Facebook page, please like the page. I give updates for a lot of different things. Facebook Live is one of the things I'm definitely known for. If you guys are new here, please share the video. There's a lot of people around the area that are interested in Hurricane Harvey information. And our goal tonight is to get to 1,000 shares. I would ask that you guys help. We're at about 500 shares. If everybody shares the video 3 times, we will get ourselves easily up over 1,000 shares, 3 additional. Remember that your additional shares actually count towards the goal, and I would like to make it up over 1,000 shares for the 100th consecutive night. So let's open it up to questions. After you guys share the video an additional 3 times, comment down below so I can give you a shout out. So let's open up to Q&A, guys. Clovetta with a share, thank you. Joyce with a share. Brandy with 5 additional shares. I love that. Thank you, Brandy. A share from Stacy. Thank you, Stacy. And by the way, if you guys wonder why I'm looking down, I'm just waiting for the official on when we can get official that the landfall actually occurred, because it's getting very, very, very close to landfall now. Suzanne says, family in Houston impacts. The impact to Houston is not going to be the wind. It will be gusty. But the real concern in Houston is going to be the flooding. Some of the data has shown over 20 inches of rain for Houston. And I can tell you that if 20 inches of rain falls in Houston, it'll be a catastrophe. And I think anybody that watches me knows that I don't use the term catastrophe actually quite often. In fact, I reserve those words because I feel like those are words that we normally don't necessarily need. But in this case, it is a potential catastrophe. And I am very concerned that Houston's rainfall will border on obscene. And I want you guys to see what WPC has for rainfall estimates for the Houston area. So Houston area is right here. And you can see WPC is estimating 30 inches of rain. 32 west of Houston, 25 to 30 in Houston. Showing inland exceeding 30, 35, even 40 inches of rain. I just want you guys to process for a moment what I just said. One of the top 10 largest cities in the United States in the next several days could see 30 inches of rain. You're talking about a city that is easily over a million, and I don't know the exact total, but my guesstimate would be it's a metro of 3 million people. I just want you guys to understand what I'm saying. A city that large potentially is going to see 30 inches of rain. That is going to cause a catastrophe potentially. Where exactly that heaviest goes is somewhat uncertain, but I feel confident that Houston's going to go over 20. So this is a high-level, dangerous situation. 6 shares from Phyllis. Thank you, Phyllis. Suzanne's saying it's hard to fathom, and it is. So when Louisville had that unbelievable flooding we saw in 2009, if you recall, we saw 6 inches of rain. Keep in mind that came in 2 hours. But it just gives you a reference point of what kind of catastrophe this can truly be. Stacy says she's praying that people can evacuate, and I hope so too. This is going to be a test. It's going to be a test of our system. And I feel like it's going to be a test because are people going to take and heed our warnings appropriately and properly? Because if they do, it should cut down. But it's possible that people didn't take our advice and are going to try to ride it out. And in that, in my opinion, they made a very, very, very serious error. Christy's saying over 60 shares. Let me update you guys on where we are. We're at 604. 604 shares, guys. Our goal is to get up over 1,000 shares tonight. We need 1,000. Tonight isn't a significant one. So if we go up over 1,000 shares tonight will be a mega big deal because it will be the 100th night in a row we've gone above 1,000 shares. Rainfall potential for Corpus Christi. I'm going to show you the GFS computer model estimates for Corpus, and it's showing about 11. My opinion is the 11's underdone. I think Corpus could do 20. So, Tiger with a like and a share, thank you. Teresa's asking why they didn't make a mandatory evac. Let me explain a little bit about why Harvey is unique. So Harvey was originally a tropical storm in the Caribbean that was forecast to become a hurricane. Harvey fell apart in the Caribbean and died. So Harvey lost all tropical characteristics. What happened then is Harvey emerged as it went across the Yucatan Peninsula, and the data started to show that we had a problem. Harvey then started to intensify, regained its tropical status and name, and then intensified into the monster that we have now. Harvey intensified extremely quickly, and I can tell you it's very difficult at times to mobilize in a scenario like this because it intensifies so quickly. So that's part of it. The other part is that I don't know the politics of what is required for mandatory evac in each individual county. So, you know, it's a crazy situation. Jeff with some shares. Thank you, Jeff. Wendy's saying thanks for the answers, of course. How do they evacuate hospitals and nursing homes? And those are difficult situations. I've been in hurricanes where they're trying to evac, and it just requires a lot of help in a lot of these situations. So Michael's asking if I'm asking if South Texas could see these torrential downpours for a week, and the answer is yes. That is indeed possible. Hey, Chris is in here tonight. Chris, hope you're having a great night. Share time 6 from Anna, thank you. All right, guys, our goal tonight is to get to 1,000 shares. It's a significant one. If we make it above 1,000, it is our 100th night in a row above 1,000 shares. If you guys remember, my 99th was a huge one. That was the eclipse. And this is my first one since the total solar eclipse on Monday, which I can't believe that was this week still. Stacy's saying it's hard to wrap my head around what's happening. It is. It really is. And you can see the eye behind me and how menacing it really looks. Like I said, I'm going to keep looking down only because I want to give you the official on when we get an official landfall declaration. But we are very, very close to official landfall occurring on the barrier islands of Texas. Mike saying he believes the National Guard has already been mobilized by Governor Abbott. And I have heard that, and I hope that's the case, because what I'm really concerned about is that if the flooding is as bad as I think, the emergency personnel can't get in there. And if the rain's still falling, you can't get in there to help people. If the roads are flooded out, how do you get to the people that desperately need your help? And that's what makes this really, really crazy. That this is one of those that there's some concerns. Phyllis is asking if this is a Cat 4. It is. So somebody's asking, will this make it to the Ohio Valley? I showed you some of the spaghetti plots. Some of the data shows that this system will approach us next Friday with some rain. Would it be like Ike? No. No. And no. So if you're concerned that we have a scenario like Ike that produced 75-mile-an-hour winds in the Ohio Valley, I can tell you that's not going to happen. If it gets here, it would do so as we go towards the holiday weekend next week. I'm not going to ask you guys to alter plans, and quite frankly, I'm not altering mine. But I just mentioned that some of the computer models are bringing some of the rain up here. Just remember that our computer models are struggling to forecast the track of this system 2 days into the future. So why would you buy into their ability to forecast it 7 days? If you know they're erroneous 2 days into the future, you full well know they're going to be erroneous 7 days into the future. So I will tell you, I'm not even putting a rain chance for Harvey on my 7-day forecast. And much of that reason is because it is so far into the future and the computer models are having such a difficult time. Somebody asking, did the total solar eclipse have anything to do with the formation of Harvey? Zero. Zero, nothing, no connection, nothing, not at all. There's no relation whatsoever. Caleb saying range folding on velocity. Yeah, you knew that was going to happen. Velocities only go up so high before they have to flip, so it's unnatural that you're going to have range folding on every hurricane. Arletta's saying prayers and thoughts with people of Texas. Thank you, guys. We're up to 836 shares. All right, guys. We are into crunch time now. We got 5 minutes left on the video. I need you guys to step on the shares quickly and often. I need 100 shares from about 500 people in here. And if we do, we get up over 1,000 shares for the 100th night in a row, which is a significant, significant night. Dee's asking about global warming. Now, I can guarantee you that there are going to be people that attribute the formation of an individual storm to global warming. In my opinion, it's fair to say that increased oceanic heat content does indeed affect hurricanes and can affect some. But is it fair to say that an individual storm was impacted by something like that? In my honest scientific opinion, that's scare tactics. It is not fair or accurate to say that global warming directly strengthened an individual storm. It is more to talk about the pattern and the larger scale seasons. In my opinion, it doesn't apply to an individual event. Another share from Michelle. Thank you, guys. After you've shared a 5 total, let me know. Jacob with 5 shares. Pam saying prayers for everybody along the Texas coast. I appreciate that. Joseph Napper with 50 shares. Thanks, Joseph. Let me give you a thumbs up. Michael's saying thanks for the Facebook Live videos, watches regularly. I appreciate that. Dee is saying she disagrees. Dee, you can disagree all you want. I'm a scientist. I've done this for, 21 years. And I can tell you that any legitimate scientist will tell you that individual storms are not powered by anything. It's not fair to say that. It's fair to speak to seasonal and climatology, but it's not accurate to speak about individual storms. Like I said, you can argue with me all you want. I don't even get into the global warming topic anymore because it has brought out such incredible emotions on both sides. It's just not worth it. So that's why I really won't even discuss the topic. But that said, somebody asked, I gave you the truth, and that is that you can't attribute an individual instance to one thing. So let's just say the ocean water is warmer. Well, what if you have a lot of wind shear above it? It's not going to form. So did global warming cause that storm? Well, the waters are warmer because the atmosphere is warmer, the water's warmer, right? So that storm doesn't work that way. What happens if you don't have a high pressure above a hurricane? It's not going to intensify as quickly. Even if the waters are warm? Well, they were very, very warm in the Caribbean, but Harvey died in the Caribbean. Or you're saying, but the water's warmer, how could Harvey die? You kind of get the idea that there are so many factors that go into these individual storms allowing them. This is a set of circumstances that were perfect in the atmosphere to allow it to occur. If all of those conditions weren't present, Harvey doesn't do anything like it did in the Caribbean, where you have some of the warmest waters regionally. So, it is indeed a fact that individual storms are not, one thing cannot be attributed to their strength. That is indeed a fact. Somebody's asking about Tumble, Texas. I'm not specifically familiar with that town, so what I'm going to do is quickly Google the location. Only that way I can make sure I give you accurate. I know my area super well, but I've lived in Texas. I just don't know each town. So Tumble's on the north side of Houston. I think that they could see catastrophic flooding. Dee's saying a lot of scientists disagree. Dee, if you're going to argue with me, I'm going to boot you. Honestly, you asked my opinion, I gave it. I'm not going to play around on this one. It's my Facebook page. If you want to be here and participate and have fun, you're welcome. If you want to come in here and disagree and argue with me after 20 plus years of meteorology, I'm just going to boot you. It's just not worth it. I gave you my opinion as you asked, and then you chose to decide to argue my opinion. So, like I said, I'm a 42-year-old man. I just don't like to argue anymore. I'm too old for this stuff. Somebody's asking about Texas. So guys, if the specific areas of greatest concern for flooding to me would be just northeast of landfall, and then even inland. So I have concerns from San Antonio, Austin, and then as you go to the coast near Rockport, northeast of Corpus Christi. I have very deep concerns about Galveston into Houston, that this is going to be potential catastrophic flooding. Becky saying, I appreciate the prayers as I'm in Texas. So Becky, we're thinking about you. Know that. I know we're thinking about you, and we've got you in our prayers. I'm a Christian man. I believe in the power of prayer. Hopefully you guys can ride this one out on the safe side. I've been through them. I was 4 blocks off the ocean in Katrina. As a storm chaser, I've been on 10 hurricanes in my career. And I know what you're going through, and I know it's going to be a very, very rough couple of days. But just know, everybody in Kentucky and Indiana, we're thinking about you and we're praying for you. Tina's asking about the eclipse. Was it everything I imagined? Let me just quickly touch on that. You guys know how you close your eyes and you sometimes dream of things? You know, sometimes you go to sleep at night and you have a dream of something that you're so excited about. You know how like when you're a kid you have these dreams of things that you might be able to experience or witness? But those dreams seem like they're off in the distance. Sometimes those dreams feel like you're never ever going to be able to attain them. And the eclipse on Monday for me was a dream for 42 years for me to see. And I experienced it. And for 2.5 minutes I lived a dream. And I think everybody knows that you don't get those opportunities your whole life, but I did. And I saw something I dreamed about. So that's what the eclipse was for me. Terry's saying thanks for everything you do, sending prayers for the people in Texas. I appreciate that. And guys, we really need to keep these people in our thoughts and prayers. And like I said, this is a potentially catastrophic event occurring in Texas. There's going to be a 2-pronged issue. The wind and surge will be the first. The second will be the flooding that occurs afterwards. Let me update you guys lastly. We're nearing the end of our video. Our goal is to get to 1,000 shares. If we get to 1,000 shares, we will do it for the 100th consecutive night. And I just want you to think about that. That's since January. If I would have told you late last year that we would do 1,000 shares 100 nights in a row, I think everybody would have laughed. Because that is a significant number. That said, you can laugh all you want now. Because if we make it up over 1,000 tonight, it will be the 100th consecutive night above 1,000. Throw a couple more 100 shares my way so we can definitively make it over. I want to briefly tell you guys what I'm going to be discussing on WDRB News at 10. The latest on Harvey. Has it made landfall? You could see behind me, and I'll flip this around just so you can get the... unfortunately, what happens with Facebook videos is what you can see is it actually makes things backwards. But let me undo that. What you can see is Harvey is very, very close now to the outer barrier islands of Texas near Rockport. It is indeed making landfall. The official landfall is not that far off if it is not occurring right now. So I will update you guys on the latest on Harvey on WDRB News at 10 o'clock, top of the hour. WDRB News at 10:22. Some showers with a front are going to start to approach. I'm going to talk about if that could impact your outdoor plans this weekend for the last 2 days of the State Fair on WDRB News at 10:22. Hope you guys have some outdoor plans. We'll talk about that at 22. And then at 10:37, some of the data, as I mentioned, shows some of Harvey moving towards us. What I'm going to do is refresh on the data, the new data, give you an update on WDRB News at 10:37 on any impacts for our area. Remember, guys, I tell you this quite frequently that Facebook Live videos are awesome and very important, and it's a unique way that I can reach you guys. But in television, we make money off TV, and that's how we actually put the food on the table. So I love that you guys support me on Facebook. Remember, support me as well on TV. That is the most important. Set your alarm clock for 10, 10:22, 10:37. You can go about your business, and that way you guys can also get me on TV when I come back on. So let me update you guys on where we stand on our shares, so I can tell you guys if we made it up over 1,000. We're up over 1,000 shares. It's 100 nights in a row. I wish I could give you guys some thumbs up, because that is remarkable. 1,000 shares for 100 nights in a row, and we did it on a Friday night, and we did it on a topic that I felt was really important. The reason that I wanted to do it tonight is because I felt like this was a major, major, major deal, and I wanted to save my last Facebook Live video for something that was going to be mega. And I will, before I end the video, show you guys the last radar image, and it is indeed a fact now. Landfall is occurring. You can see the eye is now making it onto the barrier islands of Texas. 8:59 p.m. on August the 25th of 2017. Hurricane Harvey is now making landfall as a Category 4 hurricane. The last Category 4 hurricane was Hurricane Charlie in the infamous 2004 season. We have not had a Category 4 make landfall in the United States in 13 years. That is over. So the streak of no Category 4s ends at 13 years and 10 days. A Category 4 making landfall on the barrier islands of Texas at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Central. I'm going to end the video here quickly, but I again ask you one last time, if you guys enjoy my Facebook Live video, please like, please love, and please share the video. It's the most important thing. And I will ask you one last time as a human being to another, please keep Texas in your thoughts and in your prayers tonight. And once we get towards next week, please don't expect somebody else to help. You hear me? Please don't expect somebody else to help. Please take it upon yourself to think about what you can do to help and what is going to be a catastrophe in Texas. And I think if we do that and we think about what each of us can do individually to help, Texas will be overwhelmed with support that we need to show our neighbors to the south. We have had a catastrophe here before with the 1974 hurricane tornadoes and the 2012 tornadoes. So let's think about what we can do to help. Guys, you made it up over 1,000 shares. It's 100 nights in a row. I'm going to rest my voice, and I'll see you guys on WDRB News at 10.